Hello, my name is Finn Hastings, and I'm joining you from GBTA APAC Conference 2026 here in Singapore. Delighted to be joined in the studio by Jim Crowder, Strategic Sales Director APAC at Enterprise Mobility. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
First question, can you tell us about the overall ground transportation market in APAC?
Yeah, Finn. Ground transportation in the region, in many cases, is a forgotten category, or what we like to call an unmanaged category. And the perception in the self-drive market is that most travelers outside of Australia and New Zealand don't want to rent a car and shouldn't be renting a car, right? The reality is the traditional self-drive market in the region is more than $22 billion. Of that, more than 75% of that is destination APAC, with another 10 to 15% of that into North America and another 8 to 12% of that into the EMEA region. A lot of people don't realize that that's how large the ground transportation market is in the Asia Pacific market. Most people think that Australia would be the next largest self-drive market to China. The reality is that GBTA's data shows that Japan and South Korea, there's more self-drive car rental, especially for business travel, than there is even for Australia and New Zealand. While ground is typically the smallest portion of a company's travel policy, it is still a large spend, and it should be considered when establishing and reviewing travel policies. The industry is shifting from simply vehicle providers to more of mobility as a service, and it's important for companies to work with a consultative partner that can provide global solutions with regional customization.
Thank you. How can travel managers better measure and optimize ground transportation spend for APAC? Not just rates, but traveler behavior and travel policies.
So the reality is that travelers are a lot more comfortable driving and renting vehicles in more markets than in the region than just Australia and New Zealand. However, policies today for most companies are not written to allow that. What we've found is that ground transportation is still an important part of travel policies, but many policies are not fit for purpose or fit for specific trips. So they are generic, and there are opportunities to look at all the different aspects of ground transportation, including car rental, ride hailing, public transportation, and long-term solutions. There are cost savings and efficiencies to be found by working with global partners that will provide a consultative approach looking at diversified, customized, and flexible regional solutions to build policies that are more traveler-focused and trip-specific.
Thank you. And finally, what role should ground transportation play in duty of care and risk for APAC business travelers?
So duty of care is in APAC, especially when it comes to ground transportation, shouldn't be one size fits all. But unfortunately, that's the way it is today. Most companies look at ground transportation as a one size fits all for all travelers. What we found is that there's a lot more country-specific nuances that should be considered when you're doing travel policies for ground transportation. Approximately 40% of APAC travelers don't book any of their travel through corporate policies or corporate GDS systems. When it comes to ground transportation, that leakage is substantially higher. A lot more travelers don't book their ground transportation through company policies. By making travel policies for ground more fit for purpose, more fit for specific trips, there's an opportunity to increase duty of care by booking more through the policies if the policies are more traveler specific.
Jim Crowder, Strategic Sales Director APAC at Enterprise Mobility, thank you so much for joining us today in the broadcast studio.
Thank you, Finn. I appreciate your time.
You've been watching Broadcast Studio at GBTA APAC Conference 2026 here in Singapore. Thank you for joining us.